Yeah, I think we could hit it.
Okay. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, June 8th Plan Commission of the City of Stoughton. And it looks like we do have a quorum. First item for business is to consider the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I would entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second on that.
Motion by Seltzer and a second by Schumacher. Anybody have any questions about the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Item 3 is the council representative report. Alderperson Caravello, did you have anything to report?
Just three things quickly from the May 12th council meeting. R68 2020, the master development agreement for KPW was approved. At the same meeting, R69 2020, the agreement for the subdivision improvements for KPW Phase A was approved. And at the May 26th City Council meeting, R88 of 2020, which is a certified survey map to combine the properties at 1700 East Main Street, was approved. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Next would be the staff report. And Michael, can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so in the packet is the usual update for the current status of developments. And below that, there's a summary of building permits compared to last year. As you can see, we're actually doing pretty well considering. So any questions I can try to answer?
Okay, hearing none, I'll go back to the agenda here. And item number 5 is a request by Brad Fry Quick Trip for approval of the conditional use permit and site plan to construct a new commercial building at 1700 East Main Street. And I'll give you a little bit of background. City Attorney Dragney has joined us. He can certainly fill in the blanks. As you may recall, on a Quick Trip proposal, there are 3 items that needed to be approved. The first item, which was approved by the Plan Commission, was the certified survey map, the CSM, to combine the 2 lots. That was approved. And the next item was the conditional use permit. And that was also approved by the Plan Commission, and that went to City Council. City Council had received some feedback, had some thoughts and concerns, and they wanted to make sure that the Plan Commission took those into consideration as they took up the site plan, which is also on the agenda tonight. So my understanding is we may have to approve the conditional use permit again, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then also the site plan review, and I'll turn it over to Attorney Dragney and he can clarify that for you.
Thanks, Mayor Swadley. Well, as I understand it, the Plan Commission has not yet approved a site plan and will need to act on the site plan. What you choose to do on the conditional use permit is, I suppose, entirely up to you in a sense. And I wasn't at that commission meeting. I got feedback, so I'm gonna.
All right, just give me a second. I would ask if you're not speaking, if you could mute your line. Otherwise, I'll attempt to mute it manually from my end. It might just take me a second to get there. All right, now try Matt.
Okay. So with respect to the conditional use permit, I can't say that I have the complete history on this, but as I understand it, the Plan Commission did consider the application, did recommend approval of the application. And the council, yes, did I think, remand it back to the Plan Commission and ask that you take another look at it. But whether you choose to do so or not is up to you. I'd be happy, you know, so at a high level, at least, you have to act on the site plan. No question about that. What you do with the what you choose to do with the CUP is up to you.
So then I would add, since the Plan Commission and the last city council meeting, city staff with the city attorney has met twice with the officials and the developers regarding the Quick Trip. And within the packet, you'll see some modifications to the plan. So I guess I would ask the commissioners if you want to walk through the changes, or how would you like to move forward on this discussion tonight?
I think that walking through the proposed changes just to see exactly what they address would be not a bad way to start.
Okay, we can certainly do that. And then who from Quick Trip tonight would like to do that? And do you want control of the screen, or would you like me to try to find the maps while you're speaking to them, or what would you like to do?
Sure, Mayor. This is Troy Meleza, Quick Trip Real Estate Manager. I don't know, Mike or Mayor, if you have the packet, if it's easiest, I'd let you steer and drive, and I'll just kind of
Okay,
comment, go through.
tell me where to go, and I'll put that map up as you're speaking.
Okay. I guess maybe starting with the landscape plan, site plan with those kind of bubbled yellow changes on. Do you have that one?
All right, let me just look for it here. I don't know if this one's it. You said there's yellow changes on it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it won't
there's
be in
some-
the pack.
Oh, do you have it, Michael?
It won't be in the packet. It'll be in the T drive in that, in the area where the packet is.
All right, I got
There was
you.
additional materials that came, I think, late, but it's also, I think, shown in the, where the packet is located online.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. It'll just take me a second to pull it up. It was in the supplemental.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, the only thing I see in there is the letter. I don't see the map.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted to walk through, is the,
Yeah, I guess if you just have a site plan, I can walk through that way. I thought the
Okay.
bubble one might be easier, but I can just walk through from the site plan if that's. what we want.
okay, yeah, what I have on here is, I have the letter that addressed the changes that you made, and then I could also put up the map. So I'll put up the map and you can kind of walk us through it.
I think I have the one with bubbles too, Mayor, if you
Oh,
you want
okay,
to
I'll
share.
turn over the screen to you then, Michael, if you got it. There you go.
here. Just gotta find the right one. Let's see here. Not sure if this is it either. Oh, I got this one. I know this one I got today.
Listening to these guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Shoot. Too much material. I thought it was on this one. Troy, do you have any idea where it was exactly in the packet?
The packet I got, it was in the same group with the letter. It was basically the landscape plan with some colored bubbles on it showing.
Okay.
I mean, if you just pull up a plan, site plan, whatever plan you got, pull something up and I'll
Yeah.
use that as the base.
Well, will this plan work? Will this plan work, Troy?
Yeah, share it.
All I'm seeing is everybody's
Oh.
names and mics.
Correct. Yeah, I'm on a different computer here.
Well, I
Is-
can
is
put up
anybody-
the map that's in the packet and we'll go with that.
Yeah. Is anybody else seeing plans or are y'all just seeing the little tiles of folks?
I no longer see the document either.
Yeah, I'm clicking to share my screen, but it's not doing anything. Oh, it says organizer has to make me presenter.
Yeah, I thought I did. Try it again.
Oh, okay, got it.
There it is.
So can you see that?
Yeah.
It's up now.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think this is Troy again, kind of 3 points that I think when we last met with the plan commission, overall, the plan was recommended for approval on the conditional use permit. And then on the site plan, there were a couple of items that the commissioners asked us to go back and take more consideration and take a harder look at. One of them was the on-site pedestrian access. At the plan commission, there were comments made about the circulation through the site, particularly traffic car movements between the front door of the store and the fueling canopy. And one of the requests made of plan commission that night was to look at making an obvious connection or a differentiation to designate where pedestrians should navigate between the front door of the store and the fuel canopy, to kind of give a crosswalk, if you will. So that's one thing we did add to the plans. You can kind of see it shaded in gray between the north facade of the building and then going north from the front door directly north to the fuel pump area. So with that, we've designated with striping and a crosswalk area, so that there's an obvious area and a direct path, an ADA accessible path direct from the pumps to the front door of the store. Another factor kind of built in here is with the parking along the front facade of the building, folks would have an open channel, if you will, to get to that path, the crosswalk, and designate that area for folks to cross over from the pumps to the store. Second item that Plan Commission asked us to look at was County Road N. in particular asking with Dane County if there was something that could be done to look at traffic, in particular speed. It was mentioned coming southbound on N traffic, in particular, maybe not following the posted speed limits to make that a safer area. We asked Dane County if they allow a speed sign or one of those radar type speed limit signs to be implemented. They were agreeable to that. They indicated that they didn't have funding for that, but if it was the desire of the city and the Plan Commission to implement something like that, Quick Trip would be amenable to paying for and coordinating one of those to be installed so that southbound traffic on N as it comes into the city would be alerted to what the speed limit is. And those seem to be a pretty effective way to get traffic to follow the posted speed limits and make sure they're following what the local regulations are for speed in that area. At Quick Trip, we'd be happy to incorporate and work through that process with the city and the county to have that installed and to have Quick Trip pay for that. I think the county might have a specific spec as to what they want to see out there. I know there's different varieties of those speed signs, is my understanding. So we'd be, in honor of the safety of the neighborhood and the safety of the folks coming and visiting our facility, we think that'd be money well spent in that area. The third item, kind of relating back to the site plan, was related to kind of the cross access easement and the access to the Fastenal building to the east. At the last meeting, the plan showed the maintaining or continuation of the existing easement that runs from County Trunk N east-west through the site to the Fastenal property. Since that last meeting with the Plan Commission, we went back and modified the plans to look at how those access easements might be made more efficient and kind of provide a bit of opportunity to get the customers for Fastenal's building to the front side of the building along Highway 51. So the designers here working with Quick Trip have opened up a access point on the south side of the building, if you will, in the front or the 51 side frontage between Fastenal and Quick Trip's property. So instead of just a pure east-west cross access easement with one driveway between the store and the fueling islands and the north end, if you will, the Fastenal property, the proposal here would be to add two different new additions to the cross access easement. So there'd be a extension out on the north side, you'll see on the drawing, going out to Cedar Brook, kind of the north-south on the part of the property closer to the daycare center. And then there'd be kind of an L configuration running on the west side of the Quick Trip building and then south of the Quick Trip building to connect that new driveway connection. So you'd have two connections to the Fastenal property. And the idea would be that you'd take most of the folks that were visiting the Fastenal building where the storefronts are, get those folks coming south rather than right now everybody would be going between the front door of the store and the pumps and then running on the back side of the Fastenal building. The thought here would be you'd have that second access where customers, if you will, patronizing the Fastenal building and the businesses there could get to the front door in a more efficient manner. And then the second part of that with truck access, they could navigate into the site from the north access point on Cedar Brook and get to the back side of the Fastenal, the north side of the Fastenal building for deliveries. Those are the three items that we looked at based on the feedback from the Plan Commission at the last meeting. Two other items that we talked about kind of getting feedback from the council on related to the site plan was landscape screening on the north side. There was sentiment expressed by the council of adding plantings on the north side of the site to screen the neighborhood and the properties to the north from the commercial property here. So on the landscape plan, you'll see a healthy addition of evergreen plantings on the north side of the site, closest to the sidewalk along Cedar Brook. And those would be planted north of the stormwater facility there to screen the properties to the north. So I think there was an addition of 13, 14 evergreen trees planted in that area on the landscape plan. And again, if there were particular species, we'd be happy to discuss those, but that was our work to buffer and screen from neighbors to the north. Another point brought up by council and kind of, I think we talked about a little bit at the Plan Commission as well, was just sidewalks and off-site pedestrian access. There is currently sidewalk on the north, the south, and the west sides of the property. And our plan, kind of working through this, would be to bring a sidewalk connection in from the sidewalk along N to the front door of the store. So we'd have a nice sidewalk connection around the site, north, south, and west. And then we'd bring a pedestrian connection, again, ADA accessible along from the frontage on County Trunk N directly into the site to the front door of the store. So those are two items that we worked through, hearing feedback from Plan Commission on in terms of screening and sidewalk connection. So I think we've got a good connectivity here for a multimodal connection to the site. Last item, I guess, was just kind of talking about traffic in the area. Went back, and I know we mentioned last time that we've got stores in the area with probably more significant traffic counts, particularly if the traffic counts around our store on the west side of town, and then also kind of closer to the center of town have, I think, traffic counts in the neighborhood of 10 to 14,000. The traffic count in front of our store here on the east side of town that we'd be replacing is somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 9,000. And then the traffic currently on County Trunk N is somewhere in the 6,500 counts per day. And then as our store up in McFarland is, I think, somewhere north of 18 to 20,000 cars per day. So pointing those out for the area, obviously traffic is important to us in terms of folks being able to navigate into and out of the site, and having the counts kind of in comparison to what is in different areas where we have stores in the area. The counts here are less than what we have in those areas, and I think we're comfortable that the traffic will be able to be handled in a safe and helpful manner. I think, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you and Mike if there's any other items to address or talk through, but thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you. Before we open it up for questions from commissioners, I would just add that a lot of the feedback that we received at the Planning Commission and from the council were feedback from residents of the neighborhood and people from outside of the neighborhood. We did get numerous amounts of emails and a few phone calls, both for and against the project. Some of them, expressed concerns. I think we've tried to work with Quick Trip to identify them and address them. And, it's a difficult situation. I mean, it's one of them where we'd like to see something developed on this lot. It's been a commercial lot for years. And by combining the lot, it really gives them the flexibility to do the project they want. The conditional use permit is basically just allows them to do the gas pump and the car wash. That's the purpose of that, for that use. So, I wanted to take a moment and thank those that took the time to send the emails and the phone calls. And I know some are tuned into the meeting tonight as well. So thank you for that. We appreciate the feedback. We try to at least address the concerns. At the end of the day, we know that whatever happens with the decision that the Plan Commission makes and the City Council makes Some people will be satisfied, some people will not. It's just one of them things on a project like this that we're bound to run into. So, are there any questions from any of the commissioners?
I could jump in first. This is Todd. First question that I have is a little bit more, if you could follow up with a little more detail on the nature of the pedestrian crossing between the pumps and the store. Is that just striping? Or will there be a change in color or material for the actual surface of the crosswalk itself?
Yeah, this is Troy with Quick Trip Real Estate. Our plan was to stripe, but if it would be the purview of the commission to have stamped or different colored concrete in there, we'd be willing to do that as well.
Okay. I think it might help to have, in addition to that, different color concrete. Sometimes stamped concrete creates a longer term maintenance and sustainability issue, as well as in some cases, like in downtown Stoughton, can actually make a little slippery and stuff too. But maybe just change of color and the striping might be good. I know originally what I had envisioned for this was to have that pedestrian demarcation be wider than what you've identified, because in practicality, I can't imagine that people on some of the farther islands or the farther pumps to the right or left or to the east or west aren't going to just naturally, walk diagonally directly from their pump straight toward the door. But when I look at this also in terms of parking stalls and everything else, I don't think there would be a safe way to mark pedestrian crossing coming directly from a pump on the east or west side through a parking stall. So I guess as long as we can make that primary pedestrian route as clear as possible, I think I'm probably as comfortable as I'm going to get with that. I would like to say I'm kudos for the L-shaped customer route to the front of the Fastenal building, or I should say on the south side of the Fastenal building. I think that's a great solution. I do have a question on what looks almost like a gate that's drawn across that particular lower travel corridor there. Is that, am I misinterpreting what's drawn there across between the two properties at the bottom of that L? Is that going to be clear traffic all the way through? I mean, it's not an archway or anything like that. I'm just going to try to figure out what's drawn where you cross from one property to the other there on the bottom of that route.
I think that's a stormwater connection.
Yeah, this is Troy with Quick Trip. That's a culvert, if you will. So there's there's a.
Okay, I don't know if there was anything more you're trying to say.
I'm sorry, a culvert basically to keep the flow line for the stormwater in there.
Okay.
It'll be a driveway connection, curb and gutter.
I really like that solution. I assume that was come up with the adjacent property owner, so that they've signed off on that.
We've shared that with the property owner. I don't know. I don't want to speak for them as if they've signed off or not, but we've shared that with.
I know that the biggest concern that came up at the planning commission meeting last month and that we had wanted to have addressed was the semi delivery across their easements. And I want to make sure that that's been, I know what our request was that there was a conversation that would take place between the two property owners to make sure modifications to your site plan were going to accommodate the deliveries that they saw but needed to their property. I want to make sure this solution accommodated that.
Yeah, well,
if you don't mind, I'm just wondering, I'm having a really difficult time understanding some of what Todd is saying because of some distortion, and I don't know if that's on my end or if that is on his. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
I believe, yeah, this is Attorney Eric Olsen here with Barb and Jerry Judd and representing the judge. I believe Commissioner Bowman was saying that he wanted to make sure that there was sign off from the neighboring property where Fastenal is, which is the Judd's property that I represent. Because I believe the commissioner was indicating that that was something that came up with the council and was one of the main points that in his mind needed to be addressed. And speaking for them, we have not signed off on it yet. We're not necessarily against the Quick Trip going in here. In fact, we think it might be great, but this plan came fairly frequently. The entrance to N, if that is that sort of if that has that sort of splitter island or pork chop there, from our standpoint, that's a major problem. And we also just, quite frankly, have a lot of concerns about the safety of this proposal here. I think it potentially makes it very difficult for the semis to access the Fastenal property. And we have a real concern about the safety, and that Fastenal potentially could be concerned about liability. And, we fear maybe even go so far as to not review and in on these renew. I'm sorry, I think I said review, but renew. And that's coming up in just a little bit under 3 years, 2 to 3 years. So this is something that, we would love to see this happen here. We just want to have a little bit of time to do our due diligence, because this new plan was just presented to us in the last couple of days. I just got hired, and in fact, the applicants invited us to a meeting this morning to present these plans, which I didn't attend, but Mr. Judd did. And then I actually had a hearing in Kenosha all day, so we're looking at this now, and we're going to figure out what due diligence we have to do. But we would ask that I don't know the ins and outs of approving the CUP and not the site plan, but I think you do start going down a road where if the CUP has been sent back with those types of concerns, maybe there's something to be said for just putting it on hold till we do, provide the buy-in on the whole thing, which we fully intend to do once we can be satisfied that the concerns have been met.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any other questions, Alderperson Caravello?
That was, if you'll recall, that was one of my main concerns. I just couldn't see how a full-size semi was going to navigate a delivery to Fastenal and then get out, basically with the pork chop and various other what I saw as limitations or restrictions to the easement. And I don't know if I don't think the L access piece that drops to the south and then to the east, closer to 51, really does anything as far as, I think that would just be for customers to the Fastenal and the other stores that are in that strip there. But I still see a problem. Yeah, go ahead.
The idea is that the semis, for whether it's Fastenal or Quick Trip, would come in on Cedar Brook, and I think that the lines on there are trying to demonstrate that. Is that what I gather, Troy?
Correct. It shows how movement would function from Cedar Brook with the biggest truck out there. So they designed this with the worst case scenario in mind. And right now, the width on the pavement, my understanding, is 24 feet. This would take it back to 26 feet. And then there'd also be a wider radius you can see along the north side of that opening along the east property line. The challenge on the south side is there's some drainage in there that actually sits on the Quick Trip parcel that comes off of the Fastenal property. So there's a limited opportunity to push that south curb back. But I think as far as the movements here, they do work. Now, granted, obviously, the Fastenal truck isn't coming 3-4 times a day. Do they come once a day, I think is my understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday through
So-
Friday.
So it does show, it does work, it does fit within the easement area. I think my understanding now is that the trucks are technically backing in off County Trunk N to get into the site. And I don't know that that is a very safe operation. If the county saw that, I'm not sure that would be encouraged or looked favorably upon. This gets that movement off of the highway, gets it into the site, and does function.
And just to follow up on that, do you typically have an agreement with the neighboring property owner?
There would usually be easements in place if they're shared properties. So like our store, for example, in McFarland is next to a bowling alley facility, and it has shared easements, cross access through that property. So it's not unusual to have shared access between properties at all.
So then my follow-up would be to Attorney Dragney. This is something that the property owners would have to work out. Is that my understanding?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
The easements and the, where the detention, the basin is and those items that are basically shared between the properties, is that between them or is that a city issue?
Well, I think the answer is a little complicated. So clearly the property owners have the right and the opportunity to work together on addressing issues of mutual concern. That's something the property owners can do independently of the city. The city's role here is to look strictly at the site plan and the conditional use permit that have been presented. I think the reality is here that because of the way these two sites work together, it seems to me that it's not possible to look at the Quick Trip site independently of the neighboring property and ignore the relationship between the two. So to the extent the Plan Commission is looking at this plan and needs to look at the linkage between the two sites in terms of semi-truck access and so on, that's something you can look at in looking at the site plan and at the CUP.
If I may weigh in, I think that the access, from my understanding, from my admittedly somewhat limited understanding of this whole situation, since, as I said, I just got hired, the access easement runs from lots 1 and 2 east to west from Highway N to lots 1 and 2. And that's what's been used for the access. The proposal to have it go north, from what I understand, that's really just would be transforming what was platted as a utility easement into an access out onto Cedar Brook. And I don't think that there's any, well, we never know, but I actually would take the position that the lot 4 and 3 cannot force 1 and 2 to accept a situation where the shared easement is transformed from N up to Cedar Brook. And that is certainly to an extent what would be happening if the stop and the U cut off the existing tradition of use there. And further, I personally, I think the city that we run into a problem where if the city would approve a site plan that contemplates essentially eating or destroying our use of that access easement, because typically if it were to go so far as litigation, typically that litigation would be that happen. Then how would it work if the city had approved something? It just makes it very complicated. I think it's best if we have buy-in, a joint request from both the landowners, and we're working towards that.
This is Matt. I had a hard time hearing all of that. I guess my point is that one point I want to make is the applicant here is entitled to a review and a decision on its application. I'm not really sure what's happening with these easements. So I see there is an existing easement east to west. Am I hearing that there's a concern that, well, I'm going to ask the question, is Quick Trip proposing that there would be easements granted to Fastenal covering these additional lanes of traffic that are being shown on the site plan? Is that what's being proposed here? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, this is Troy Quick Trip. Yes, I don't know, Mike, if you got the ability to go to that aerial image that shows. So with this picture, the existing easement is the east-west midsection, if you will, through the site. Our proposal would be to add additions to that easement. Right now, it's just granted on a CSM. It doesn't say any particulars about what it is, who's maintaining it, who's plowing it, who's to construct it. Our proposal would be to add and document new easements to cover the areas shown in hatching here, if you will. So our proposal to Gary, the property owner, would be that we draft new easements, cover them in these particular areas to address the existing easement, and then additions that allow the access to the site, and in our opinion, help that situation from what it is currently today. So our proposal would be to, yes, draft new easements, have those agreed to between the parties. And then our proposal would be that Quick Trip would maintain, plow, construct. Typically, if they're a shopping center type situation where you've got shared access, it's usually split 50-50 between the property owners. Our proposal here, kind of being good neighbors, is to take care of that cost, construction, and maintenance, and hopefully make it a win-win situation. So that's our thoughts on it.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. So with that explanation, then it does seem reasonable to me for the Plan Commission to say, look, this design seems to depend on those easement agreements being reached successfully between the two neighboring property owners. The plan doesn't really work if that doesn't happen. And so it's not, I mean, I don't typically see a situation where one neighbor can effectively, have this kind of, be in this position relative to an applicant. But it seems to me here, if the easements are not going to be acceptable to the neighboring property owner, the plan doesn't work. And so I guess you need to have that agreement.
So what's the chicken and the egg? What comes first? Do they have to have the agreement, or can the Plan Commission take action and let them work that out later? What's going to be the best thing for the city?
Yeah, so good question. I think you could do it either way. One approach would be to table this and say, come back when you've got the easements in hand so that we can see them, we review them, and we understand that, they're satisfactory and they're in place. The alternative would be to try and approve the site plan subject to conditions relating to the easement that can be verified later. Here, I actually think I like seeing the easements just because I'm not sure that we know enough to be able to draft reasonable conditions tonight that would get the job done. So I guess my preference would be to ask that we, to table this until the easements are done so we can see what they say.
All right, commissioners, what are you thinking? Do you want to postpone it? Do you want to move ahead and try to create some conditions on the fly, or what is your preference?
I think we have, I'm hoping that my microphone is working, but I would think we have to postpone it because actually we had made it clear that that had to be in place and agreed to before this, before it came back to the agenda. I mean, it shouldn't even been on the agenda for tonight, I don't think, because we made it clear at the meeting a month ago that we needed to have the two quick trips who have talked to, reached out in plenty of time, not the morning of the meeting, to the neighboring property owners and have reached a mutually agreeable solution, and that includes the easement. So I don't think we can act until that's in place, and that's what we had said a month ago. And I think it's fair to do it that way. Related to this, so to make sure that we're all on the same page before they reached agreement, it would help me to know, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of deliveries for Fastenal, but considering this potential solution that's in front of us, the timing of that delivery seems to be crucial, considering they're proposing the semi trucks to Fastenal to be driving right through this pedestrian corridor and then backing through that pedestrian corridor all between the pumps. So if the deliveries are in the early AM or late in the evening, I'm much more comfortable with this solution, the way the circulation is laid out. If it's right in the middle of busy times for quick trip, I could see this being a little bit challenging in terms of having Fastenal drivers being comfortable pulling in and backing out right through the pedestrian corridor between the pumps.
So your microphone is still breaking up, but I did talk to Fastenal this week. Their driver is typically there sometime between 6 and 7 a.m. Obviously, once in a while, if there's bad weather and they get delayed, that could cause an issue, or if there's somebody on vacation. But typically, they would be there earlier before the other businesses would be open. Quick Trip would more than likely be open, but the rush hour traffic wouldn't be there yet, and certainly the traffic from the daycare wouldn't be there yet. So that's generally when they're there, is what I've been told. I'm not sure when a Quick Trip delivery would be. I'm sure since they have their own fleet, like Fastenal, they can certainly control that within reason. So I think they can work that part out. But it sounds like we're looking at probably postponing this. Is that what I'm hearing?
This is Buck Sweeney. I represent the property owner. I'm an attorney at Axley in Madison. And I just wanted to make a couple comments on it. Right now, there's one easement, and there was a comment made that it serves both Lot 1 and Lot 2. But the easement that goes through the property now is only for Lot 2. Lot 1 has access off Cedar Brook Lane. Not saying that people don't drive through there, but they don't have the easement as drafted now is not drafted as articulated as it could be, and it is not, but it's clearly not for Lot 1. The easement coming in that location going from east to west is going to be, as Quicker pointed out, is going to be much wider and much safer. And there's two other easements that are coming in. So from a easement point of view, it's much safer. And Eric's correct that he just recently had a chance to see this new and revised map, but it's substantially better from an operational point of view than just having one easement coming into that property, no matter what would get developed on that property if it wasn't a Quick Trip. So from a traffic flow point of view, this is going to be much better than other commercial uses of that property.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have 3 attorneys on the call. Sounds like an expensive call to me.
One, if I may, there was one thing that I just wanted to be mindful of future uses of what we're referring to as the Fastenal building, just in case something else was to occupy that building that did have more semi-delivery traffic potentially in the future. And if the easement or limited easement access would present an impediment to what might be future uses of that building, because a semi swinging in on Cedar Brook, coming in through what would be the north-south easement on Cedar Brook, and then coming into the pedestrian access easement, for lack of a better term, and then backing up. Yeah, timing wise, I just, unless the driver of the semi has a assistant with them to make sure that he's not backing up in anybody or being mindful of pedestrians or something like that, still seems a little goofy to me. But I do agree, it is better than the original.
Are there any other concerns other than the easements that the commissioners want to talk about before we entertain a motion?
Just one, Mayor, and again, I'll try to be brief then, since I want you guys all to hear me. But I didn't know if we should at least touch on the issues related to left turn lanes at the intersection of Ann and Highway 51, which to me seems to be, it's something I hadn't even thought of, but I think it's been addressed or been brought up by a number of concerned citizens. The fact that you're going to get more not only vehicular traffic at this intersection, but pedestrian traffic crossing there. Didn't know if the city has taken a stance or has thought about the ability to have, if that's a city issue to have left turn lanes, or if that is a state highway issue with it being 51.
You're talking about on 51 or on N?
From the letters that we have received as commission members, it sounds like it's the left turn lanes for on Highway 51, either turning left onto N going north from Highway 51 if you were traveling east, or turning left going south on N or Veterans if you were going west on 51. It sounds like those backing up cars that are turning at that intersection is going to make it harder for pedestrians crossing from the Quick Trip property to the neighborhoods, or just citizens, neighborhoods, residents going back and forth to the Giannis flow, whatever it might be.
I think one of the, as far as the left turn lanes, one of the major problems that is perceived by this, rightfully so, is with that right in, right out pork chop into the easement. That puts a lot of traffic stress on Cedarbrook, to basically anybody using this facility turning south onto N. Along with what is that, Stony Ridge that comes out there onto Cedarbrook. That looks like it's going to become a problem real quick, especially with how N comes from the north up the hill. I suppose maybe limiting the speed a little bit, but definitely at certain times of day, I see there being a problem all the time, but certain times of day, a major potential traffic situation and safety situation arising there at Cedarbrook and N.
This is just to point out that Cedarbrook was built before the commercial property, so it's a wider road along the commercial strip there when it was originally built, expecting to have some commercial development on this property.
This is Matt. I would just, if the Plan Commission believes that there's an issue there that it is unable to adequately address with the existing record, I think you need to have a conversation about that. You have to know, do you have enough information to make a decision or not about that issue? If you do, fine. If you don't, then I think you need to talk about what you need and give some direction to the applicant here in terms of what they need to get to you.
I would like to see something that addresses the perceived amount of traffic that's going to be fed onto Cedarbrook in and out of this facility due to just the right in, right out pork chop on N. I don't know if the volume is, I don't know if there's additional signaling that's going to be necessary at Cedar Brook, depending on how much traffic there is going to be. But I think that would be very helpful to know to safeguard that neighborhood and all the folks down on Stony Ridge and, you know, the whole Eastwood Estates area, those folks back in there, since that is their only access in and out of their neighborhood, is going to be directly across from that very busy north driveway into this facility. So I don't know what direction we need to do, traffic study, what technically we need, but I would like to see that addressed.
Just to point out though, that what you've got there is that whatever goes in there is going to have the same issue. And that's why years ago when that was built, that's why that road was built the way it was built.
Excuse me, Mayor Swadley?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Mayor Swadley, my name is Teresa Shontal. Excuse me, sorry, my dog is barking. My name is Teresa Shontal. I am a resident at 341 Stony Ridge Trail, which is 3 houses southeast from Cedar Brook Lane, and where Stony Ridge Trail intersects with Cedar Brook Lane. And I have been listening to this entire meeting and the discussion and the modifications to the existing plan. And I was not notified that this meeting was taking place, and I live 3 houses intersection, and I understand that it's a process. I wasn't aware of that process until 5 minutes prior to this meeting, so I was not able to.
Let me just say, Teresa, that I understand what you're saying. We don't have a public comment on the agenda for tonight on this issue, and we've told other neighbors that. What we'll do is, it seems like there are people that want to speak to this topic. So what we'll do is when we, assuming that we don't take action tonight, when we schedule the next plan commission meeting, we will put an opportunity to have public comment on there. So people will be allowed to speak, because we did get the emails and we have had 2 public hearings on this particular project. So, and the residents that were within 300 feet should have been notified. And I'm not really sure why you wouldn't have been if you weren't within 300 feet. But that's what we'll do, I think, because if I let one person speak, then 10 others may want to speak, and we do have to get our business conducted tonight. So, you know, I guess
I certainly understand, and I appreciate that, Mayor Swadley. I was interjecting to ask when there would be an opportunity for the public to speak to the board.
I would request that the planning commissioners, if they would want, I can put that on for the next meeting when we talk about this topic again.
I would definitely recommend or like to approve that we add a public comment period for folks, because there does appear to be some folks that feel that they should have been notified, and especially with, you know, I know we have the 300-foot thing, but since this really does impact a lot of the folks that need Stony Ridge to access their neighborhood, you know, I think it would have been, and, you know, I'm sorry we didn't address this sooner, just didn't think about it, but I think that would have been a appropriate thing to do, was actually to get some feedback from those folks.
Sure. Yeah, and it is obviously even more challenging when you're trying to do these things virtually. So I apologize for those that felt maybe like they were going to have the opportunity and they didn't, but we'll be sure that at the next time we bring this topic up, we do that. So are there any other information commissioners would like before we have that meeting or make a motion here?
Well, this is Matt. I just want to clarify, we still haven't resolved Commissioner Caravello's expression of an interest in having something factual that addresses the traffic issue on Cedar Brook. I think there needs to be a clear understanding of what you all want to see, if anything, at the next meeting on that.
This is Buck Sweeney again. We've already had 2 public hearings regarding this. The site has been commercial. We've been trying to get a tenant on that property as a community for a long time. We believe we have an exceptional opportunity to put a brand new Quick Trip that would be a benefit to all the residents, especially on the east side. And so, to table this and continue to do that, I'm not sure Quick Trip will continue to work on this, and not to have a Quick Trip there, I think it's not in the interest of the city, but that's not my call. But I just want to raise that point that from a technical point of view, there's already been 2 public hearings on this. The traffic is going to go on that road. That's pretty clear. Lot 1 is supposed to have all the daycare traffic going off of Cedar Brook Lane already. The easement that is existing to Fastenal needs to be improved. We get that. These easements that are coming on are a substantial improvement to the overall safety of the residents of the Quick Trip and of the development of that commercial property. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to speak out of turn here. This is one of the residents in Stony Ridge Trail. Your outreach to the residents in this area was ineffective. I'm sorry, it was not something that was actually done very well. When you put in something as high impact as this is to the neighbors, you need to properly vet this out. And given the fact that there's only about 60 homes in this area, to send out mailers and to bring everybody together to have their voices heard, I don't think is something that is a big stretch for the Planning Commission. I think this is something that needs to be done.
We hear you loud and clear. That's by ordinance. Certainly, city staff can go above and beyond the ordinance. So we can talk to the council members about that and go from there. So that's kind of a separate process. Like I said, apologize if you didn't hear about it earlier. We met the
Not good enough.
requirements. Maybe that's what I'm hearing. The requirements aren't good enough. So that is one of the takeaways of this whole process. So we hear you loud and clear on that one. So I guess to get to the question of Alderperson Caravello, is there something that Quick Trip can provide, maybe a comparison to another location that has a similar setup, either in Stoughton or a surrounding community, where you can compare traffic counts?
I think that would be helpful if there's, I don't know, traffic information on N going north or south.
We have that.
Okay, so we have that. So, and if they have information that they are, sorry?
They have projections for their market plan, so they should be able to find something that's similar. As many locations as they have, I would think they'll find something.
Yeah, and if we have city, I don't know if we have city traffic information for Cedar Brook, I'm going to guess there's not, probably never been a need for it so much at this point, since there is not, massive amounts of traffic, because there is no facility or no commercial facility at this lot currently. But that would all be very helpful just to see what we're looking at, whether we're going to immediately need some different traffic controls at that intersection. And I don't agree that or don't disagree that the Quick Trip store seems like something that could fit there. I just want to make sure that people are safe getting in and out of their neighborhood, getting on the highway N if they're heading north or south. I just want to look at any potential issues and make sure everybody's going to be safe. That's going to be in the neighborhood or using the Quick Trip or using the daycare. Or I think looking at safety first is always a good way to go.
Okay.
Mayor, this is Troy with Quick Trip. Wasn't there information on the traffic counts that we submitted? I thought we submitted information on traffic counts and comparisons. Did that not get in the packet?
I remember seeing the traffic counts. I'll have to look and see if they were within the packet. I mean, we can break that out and review those specifically. But I don't know if we're gonna do that yet tonight. We have to get to a place where it sounds like I'm hearing we have to work out something with the neighbor. We can talk about the traffic counts, give the public an opportunity to speak on this one. Depending on how quick we can get some comparables and you can work out something with the neighboring property owner, maybe we can schedule a special meeting, before the regular meeting in July and just focus on this one topic, because we have other agenda items tonight that we have to go through as well.
Can I just get a point of order or clarification? Considering what we're actually voting on is the conditional use permit and the site plan, is it the responsibility of an applicant like Quick Trip to solve all the traffic issues outside of their property? I mean, it seems like a lot of the stuff is stuff that the community needs to look at as we support development. And, and again, we already asked them to talk to the county about how to improve safety on in, which they did for us before this meeting. And the county and Quick Trip had proposed the digital speed sign, which I think, I don't know if it's all, but certainly it's an improvement, and it does help encourage people to start hitting that 35-mile-an-hour recommended speed before they get to that intersection. I don't know how much more we need to expect Quick Trip to solve external traffic issues outside of improvements that the city is responsible for.
This is Matt. I'll respond briefly. So it's not an easy question to answer, Commissioner Barman. There would need to be, if before the city could impose an obligation on Quick Trip to remedy some kind of an offsite traffic issue, there'd have to be an ability to show that Quick Trip's project is actually the thing that's generating the need for that improvement or for addressing that issue. We'd have to be able to show that it's this project that's kind of driving the need for that. So again, it's not an easy question to answer. Sometimes an applicant can be required to do something, and sometimes not. It's going to depend on the facts that are developed to support whatever request would be made. If indeed there is a request being made, I don't know if there would be. I'm not really sure what we might be headed towards here in terms of traffic improvements that might be deemed necessary. And if there is some need for traffic improvements to be made, then it's not necessarily the case that Quick Trip could be asked to bear that cost. It's going to depend on the analysis. Why is that need there? What's driving that need?
I just think that with this proposed facility going in there, it would be wise for us to, and I'm not a traffic expert by any means, but I am concerned about safety. And if we could throw all the numbers at a traffic engineer or someone that is an expert in this realm and figure out if that will remain a viable, safe intersection, that's what I'd like to see. I would hate to see it built and then a situation arise where we've had some accidents or some mishaps and have to come back and say, oh, well, yeah, we probably should have had a traffic study done.
I'll just voice that I think if that was the case, we should have asked that a month ago. My main concern for tonight is the fact that we did ask them to have reached agreement with the Fastenal property on these easements, including an agreement, which they did not have tonight. And to me, that's cause for tabling, and it's cause for requesting that specific piece of information be provided in the future before we act. So now, at this point of the game, to decide if we're going to have more public hearings, and to decide that we need more information that we didn't ask for before, to me, now we're starting to, I think, be acting a little bit more than we should be.
So who's willing to make a motion?
I guess I'll take a stab at it. I would move that we table action on the quick trip proposal until next meeting or until such time that they've satisfied what we requested from the last meeting, which was primarily to reach agreement with the Fastenal property, both the owner of the property and the business, on that easement issue to make sure they're in agreement. They've reached agreement on how to handle the easement, whether to expand or change the easement, and then make sure that their deliveries can be or accommodated safely. And then I think we ask them what's been provided, unless someone's believes that that's not a motion.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second Todd's motion.
All right,
I would go along with that. I would just, I don't know if as the order works, as the rules work here, if there's if an amendment could be made to that regarding the traffic, I don't know if there's support for that, but
you can make it and you'll find out if there's support for it.
I would like to make an amendment to Commissioner Barman's motion that we add a traffic impact study, or I'm not even sure the exact proper term for it, or a traffic engineering study to look at the safety considerations on Cedar Brook at N and Stony Ridge.
Is there a second for that motion? Is there a second?
Looking at the safety regarding traffic, does that include pedestrians and bicyclists or only vehicles?
A traffic study or traffic impact stress study on that road. I would like to see it look at impact of everything, of all the people coming in and out of that neighborhood back there down on Stony Ridge. Since this is
All right, so I heard a motion, I heard an amendment and a second. Michael, did you catch the amendment?
I didn't catch who gave the second.
Seltzer.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? So it sounds like it's all inclusive.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
I think you might need to do a roll call because it's too hard to tell what the votes are.
Okay, we can do that. Michael, do you have the list?
Yeah. Let's see. How about Barman?
So you just want my vote on the amendments?
Yes.
I vote no on the amendment. It's in part because my issue was the other intersection for tonight, but that's fine. I vote no on the amendment.
Okay.
Okay. Barman's no. Caravello,
Aye.
is Majewski with us? Majewski is not with us. Schumacher,
Aye.
Seltzer,
Aye.
Swadley,
No.
Okay, it passes.
So the amendment passes, so it's back to the Barman's motion with Caravello's amendment. Any questions on that? All in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Okay. Next item is number 6. And that's a request by Kevin Urso to rezone the property at 117 Ashbury Lane from SR4 single family to TR6 two-family residential. This one here, we do have an opportunity for a public hearing. And then we'll be looking for a recommendation to the council. This one had come to us before, and I believe at that time the planning commission recommended approval, and when it went to city council, it failed. And the applicant, I believe, is on the phone here. If you want to just kind of walk us through this, Kevin, and then when you're done, we'll see if there's any questions. And then at that point, we can open it up for a public hearing if any of the neighbors are still hanging out. It's in the same neighborhood as the last issue. So, Kevin, are you with us?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we were in here last year and brought this, the lot on 117 Ashbury Lane in to rezone it from a single family to a duplex lot. Like you said, we were approved by the plan commission, but then denied at the council level. After that meeting, I came in and talked to Mayor Swadley, Rodney Shield, Michael Stacy, and we sat down to try and come up with what it would take to get this thing approved. Because we were denied based on the covenants, calling this a single family lot, which is a lot different than the actual zoning of it. So with some suggestions, we decided to go through and try and change the covenants by going and getting signatures from all the homeowners in this Eastwood plat. So I did go through that. I went through and knocked on every single door. I got looks like I got 30 out of the 40 I got signed. That people had no problem with doing it. I didn't actually run into anybody that said no when I was knocking. It was mainly I couldn't get a hold of somebody, or they just weren't comfortable signing this piece of paper that we had. So I got all the signatures together. Went to, because of this COVID, we sent them up to the Register of Deeds to be recorded, and apparently it needs to be, every signature would need to be notarized, which is going to be real difficult to do, certainly at this time. So I guess we're back in asking to rezone this thing, knowing that I did knock on every single door, talk to everybody. 75% of the people signed what I did have to rezone this, had no issues. Even the developer, I talked with them. We did a lot of work on this to get it to the point of recording, and just weren't able to record it. So we're back in again. If you look at the map, you can certainly see that everything on Ashbury Court, 11 out of the 13 lots are zoned TR6 for multifamily and are built in accordance with that. So this lot's empty. It's a single family surrounded by multifamily. So that's why we're trying to zone it right into that same use that every other lot has surrounding it. So, so we're looking to build a side-by-side duplex condominium style, so it'd be owner occupied, similar to most of the stuff in there. So consistent with the neighborhood. So we're just looking to move that direction if we can.
Does anyone remember the reasoning of why the city council denied the application to begin with?
There was a resident on the property, I believe it was next door, that was not supportive, had talked to the neighbors, and brought up the issue of the of the neighborhood, the covenant, which really is not what we're considering here. What we're considering is zoning. And since then, that neighbor has actually passed away, and I think that property has been sold. I'm not sure if that's one of them where Kevin knocked on the door and talked to the new owners or not. So, you know, the council was sensitive to that neighbor's concerns.
Okay, thanks.
And that was
Any other-
actually a couple doors down. It wasn't right next door. It was two, it was
Oh,
the
it's
first single family house as you went down.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Thanks for clarifying that. Any other questions? Otherwise,
I'd like to ask Kevin,
Go ahead.
okay, you said that 30 out of 40 signed an agreement or went along with this idea. The other 10 that didn't sign, were there any that refused to sign because they were against the idea, or was it simply you didn't contact 10? So the other 30 are unanimous and the other 10 didn't vote? Or were there people who did vote?
No,
Vote no on this, or not vote, you know?
I did not have anybody say no to it. I had people I never could get a hold of, and had a couple people that just weren't comfortable with signing this piece of paper to be recorded. But everybody I talked to, every single one had no problem with it. But I did not, out of that 10, I probably didn't get 8 of them. I couldn't get a hold of them at all. So I had nobody had a problem with it. I had maps, and I had, you know, we made sure they knew exactly what I was talking about, what was around it. So everybody was fine with it. Most of them were like, they already thought it was a duplex lot, didn't think much about it.
What does the D represent on the map?
On the map, all the Ds are current duplexes or townhomes, and the star in the middle, that's us, which is a single family zoning right now. So everything across the street, everything left, the 2 to the right are condos, and then single family goes down the road. But I went down even the condos on Cedar Brook, and then I went down Stony Ridge Trail too, and knocked on most of those. So I actually had the hardest time getting a hold of the people in the condos on Cedar Brook. I think I had, out of all the lots around me, I had 26 lots, and I had 22 of them signed. But when I got to the condominiums, there's 14 units, and I got 8 of them to sign. So I had most of the trouble getting hold of the people in the condos.
All right, any other questions from the commissioners before we go into the public hearing? All right, we'll close the regular hearing and reopen for the public hearing. Is there anybody wish to speak on this? I don't think anybody was signed up to. Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the regular hearing. So we're looking for a recommendation from the Plan Commission. Would anybody like to make one?
I'll make a motion to recommend changing the zoning of this property to a TR6.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Carabello. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just don't see why, I think keeping it as a single family, that seems to be making it like an odd duck out. So I think that would make it a little bit more continuous in that area.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. All right, thanks, Kevin. We'll see you at council, probably be 2 weeks from tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Item 7 is a request by Megan Bisbee for Viking Day Camp for approval of a conditional use permit at 2125 Macomb Road, units 102 through 105 for a group daycare. Once again, we have the opportunity for public hearing. Just a quick overview of this one. Macomb Plaza is over there where Spinners is. I think there's a vet clinic in there yet, and a lot of the spaces have been empty. I think at one point Cost Cutters was in there, and Jacobson's Brothers was in there. And so the Viking Day Camp is similar to what they have in McFarland, which is the Spartan Day Camp. And it's like an after school summer type programming, I believe, for kids. I'm not sure the age groups that might be in your materials. Is there anybody here from Viking Day Camp? Okay, I don't see anybody on there. Do the commissioners have any questions? Or Michael, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I don't think so. We're just looking at the conditional use. There's no site plan changes, so it's just the day camp use. That's about it. Public hearing.
So
And then-
they would, sorry.
Go ahead.
It looks like to me from the maps, so if I'm recalling correctly, this Viking Day Camp would be utilizing what was the Jacobson Brothers space that was at the furthest east section of this facility? Or furthest west, sorry.
Furthest west. Yeah, I
That's
think
what-
there's,
Yeah, that's one of the units.
yeah, there's multiple units. I think Anytime Fitness might have been in a couple of the units at one time as well. So it's been pretty empty over there for a while. These after school programs that they run, they do a lot of field trips. So they have their own vehicles, or they walk, so they can go to Nordic Ridge, or they could go to any of the other things within Stoughton. They tend to have a calendar of events that they do. And we've have other facilities that are similar to this in Stoughton right now. It's getting to be really popular with the kids and the parents because it's more adventurism than it is, just sitting in the building all day. So it's good activities for the kids. I know my grandson really enjoys the one he goes to.
I'm guessing that there's not, but I just want to clarify for this kind of use, is there any requirement from the city's perspective for there to be an associated outdoor space, outdoor play space? Because this building clearly won't be able to accommodate any kind of outdoor play space.
There's no requirement. And this use is primarily, they go places every day. So they're not really in this space most of the time.
Yeah, so the age group was 5 through 12. And I know I was in the McFarland one day, and they just come back from a field trip, and they were kind of gathering there for lunch, and then they do a few things, and then they go out and do something else. So they keep them busy.
Are they required to have a different licensure than like a standard daycare center?
I believe it's a group, it's like a group daycare license through the state.
Okay. So that would probably, that difference in licensing would be the requirement to whether they have to have attached green space or not, is my guess.
Correct.
Yeah, and I know there's a real need for this. Just from our experience with the city, we ran an after-school program a few years ago over at Kegonsa, and I know that the provider that the school district had been contracted with is no longer operating in Stoughton. So we're seeing some of the more localized after-school programs and summer camps than maybe we did a few years ago, which I think is great for families.
I agree. There's certainly a need for that.
All right, so we have the ability for the public hearing. And I don't know if there was anybody signed up or anyone that wished to speak at it.
Did you already close the public hearing or no?
I can close it or open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak? I'm not hearing anyone, so we'll just close it and go into the business. So we're looking for a recommendation for the council.
I will make the recommendation to approve the conditional use permit for 2125 Macomb Road for the Viking Day Camp.
Is there a second?
Second. I think
Second
you take your pick, either Todd or me.
Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, that carries.
Tim, as an aside of that, do you know what would be, or if there's any thoughts of what will happen with that Ellsworth welding that's right next door to this property? I know that's been vacant for a while.
I'm not sure what the status of that is. Do you know, Michael?
I haven't heard anything. I do know if the whole property were annexed, I think it would create an island. So there may be some issues related to creating an island in the town. But we haven't heard from that property owner in quite a while.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's that weird long driveway that snakes in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just curious.
All right. Okay. Next item is a request by Jim Hess for approval of conditional use permit to allow upper story dwellings as an accessory use and site plan for a new commercial building at 700 Nygaard Street. And I think I saw Jim was on the call. Thank you for your patience tonight. And do you want to walk us through this, or do you want to have Michael, or what would you like to do?
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, Michael has. Why don't we have Michael do it?
Okay.
Yeah, so you're looking at a conditional use for the upper story dwellings, and there's also a main floor dwelling. And so that's a conditional use, it's an accessory use. And then the main use would be the small square footage for commercial space in the front. And the site plan would be for just the commercial building itself. So there'd be a public hearing for the conditional use. And if you have any questions, can certainly, I can try to address those.
So
I'm curious about the being able to find tenants in a lower commercial space, upper residential like that, given in that area, if the other on the other end of Nygaard, if that's a small strip mall area that's going in there, plus a lot of that same type of building seems to have kind of a hit and miss occupancy. Hence what we just did a conditional use on a similar situation, residential above and commercial below. Ultimately, how viable would the project be to be able to have tenancy in the commercial spaces?
That's a question probably for the applicant.
Well, there's one commercial space there, which we already have people that are interested in it. I'm one of them, actually. I wouldn't mind having my office in Stoughton because I live in McFarland. I am not very concerned about are you just worried about the commercial or the residential as well, or?
More so the commercial end of it.
Yeah, there's only the one unit, that's the commercial. I personally am not concerned about it. I'm familiar with mixed use, filling them up. I've done other projects. I did a 50 unit, had 6 commercial properties. Granted, it was on the west side of Madison, but it was kind of an orphan property as well. I personally am not concerned about it, but I don't know how you feel about it.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I have just a quick, if I'm not looking at it currently, but I seem to recall, there we are. I was wondering the 700 square foot, so it's not a huge space.
Correct.
I'm just considering the placement of it. I know we don't have any requirements for this, but it's, something forward thinking. If you thought about potentially solarizing or some sort of energy efficiency kind of something like that, because I believe the placement of this building would make that roof really a very nice location to have solar panels on the roof of it, maybe run your meters backwards.
I would love to do that if it's in the budget. Always comes
Yeah,
down to that.
If you're interested in pursuing that, Jim, I can connect you with Corey Neely, our WPPI rep at Stoughton Utilities.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He can help you secure some incentives and determine what your payback schedule would look like.
That would be helpful.
Okay, so we can do that. Any other questions about the conditional use permit? Otherwise, I'll close the regular meeting again and go into the public hearing. Was there anyone here to speak on that? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the meeting. Any thoughts or somebody want to make a recommendation to council on the conditional use permit?
I have one question, make sure I'm looking at the site, well, it's not really site plan, but the floor plan properly. I see 4 units on the upper floor that are 2-bedroom apartments. I thought I read that there was a residential unit on the first floor as well, but I guess I'm having a hard time finding that on the floor plan. Is there a residential unit down on the same level as a commercial unit?
Yes, it's behind or to the west of the commercial unit and towards the center of the building. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
No, that's
Between the middle where the stairs are.
So the lobby, you come off the lobby, then where the mechanical rooms are, and that floor plan area there, even though it's not labeled as a 2-bedroom apartment, where it has the kitchen, that's where the apartment is.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, that helps. Is there planned restrooms in the 700 square foot commercial area? Or would they have to access restrooms through? There is no restrooms in the lobby, so I'm assuming that there'd be plumbed, that commercial unit would have potentially be plumbed for a bathroom in that room.
If I'm having a hard time hearing you, but what I understand is there going to be a bathroom in the commercial? And yes, there will be. We'll plumb that in.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions on the conditional use? All right, I would entertain a recommendation for that.
I'll make the recommendation for the conditional use permit on this property.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Caravello. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. And then the second item was the site plan approval. Anything you want to add, Jim or Michael, on that before we open it up for questions?
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, everything meets the zoning requirements. The landscaping plan and the photometric plan have to be updated to change to that 700 square foot commercial space. Right now, it shows it's a little bigger, but other than that, everything meets the zoning requirements.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Access for this one will be restricted just to Nygaard, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions? So as we learned tonight, site plan approval really only has to be done by this body. So on this particular one, these don't go to council. I would entertain a motion for the site plan approval.
Well, I have one quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
If I could hear just a little bit more on the materials for the exterior, I mean, you were shown a rendering that shows the exterior colors. I'm just wondering what kind is it, if that's like a aluminum or vinyl siding, is it, what those, can you give me a little bit more detail on whether there's a masonry on the exterior?
Yes, most of that's going to be like vinyl siding is basically what it's going to be, or vinyl. Maybe it might not be like the siding, but it might be like a decorative, type vinyl. It looks like, cedar shake or whatever, like a dimensional siding.
I will, it's really not costing me to say no to the site plan, but I will tell you, I'm not really all that fond of the way the building looks, in terms of the way the color patterns. And I know it's nice to break up the facade, but the way the facade is broken up to me doesn't seem to have that much relation to the way the building is used and laid out. It's just, there's something that throws me off. I'm not going to vote no on it, but I think there's ways to potentially improve the way the building will look from the outside, in terms of that, in terms of the massing and the coloring and the materials on the exterior.
Well, I agree with you. We did do an alternate study on that, and we introduced some red, like a darker, like a brick red type color, which makes it look not like two houses stuck together the way it looks right now. And I don't know, we can send that to Mike if you want. Mike might already have it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Michael might.
If Mike wants to forward, I can certainly give you some feedback, give you my opinion anyway.
Sure.
I think it's just, I think the exterior of the building, rather than looking like a mosaic, if it kind of communicated what the building was and how it was used, I think that sometimes helps it sell itself better.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I agree.
Thanks.
I can send that to Michael.
Okay.
All right. Anything else from commissioners? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for the site plan approval.
I'll move to approve the site plan.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is a request by Joe Langmeyer, Zinc Power, for approval of a site plan to construct a new commercial building at 2443 County Highway A. And Joe, thank you for your patience. It's been a long night.
That's all right. We're very appreciative that you made time for us this evening.
Yeah, who'd you bring with you?
I have with me Scott Winter with Winter Architects and Winter Construction, who is doing the design of the facility, and then also Tom Olsen with Harwood Consulting Engineers, who is our civil engineer, and also doing our stormwater and landscaping for us. They are both on the computers and certainly can look at drawings and stuff. I'm calling in, so I can't see what you're displaying there, but certainly we are grateful for the opportunity to come before you, and we'll entertain any questions. And if Michael, if you'd like to walk them through the process, you have better knowledge of that than I do.
Yeah, so recall you've already sent a recommendation to council and they've approved the use. So that's been approved. So we're really just looking at the site plan at this point. I can tell you they meet all the zoning requirements. They did, however, find a need to add on to the accessory building. So they'll have to come back next month for an increase in the size of that building. So there'll be another conditional use coming for that, and maybe they can explain why they need to have office space on that accessory building, but that's what they're proposing at this point.
I can give you a heads up on that. The shape of the lot, if you look at it, is interesting, and for us to have as efficient traffic flow of material between us and Stoughton trailers as possible, we placed the building as far north on the property as we could. And in order to accommodate semi-traffic coming in down the east side of the property and being able to swing into our building, we could not get enough square footage on the side for the offices. So we've put the employee cafeteria and dressing rooms and things on the east side of the manufacturing building, and then have chosen to put an addition on the accessory building for our offices. And if you're looking at the site plan, customer traffic and visitors would follow the road down the east side of the property around the south side and then to the south end of the accessory building, which is where our offices would be. The office portion of that building will be dressed out similar to the plant in our grays and blues. And then attached to that will be our maintenance facility, which will be separated by some architectural dividers for a visual separation between the two facilities. And then traffic to our offices would come in and exit to the south, from the south and back out to the south, around up to the east side.
All right, the commissioners have any initial questions or thoughts?
The only things I was still concerned about were, because that's so close to that wetland area still, if there were considerations to any sort of chemical release containment being considered.
In our facility, all of our chemicals are in secondary containment that is more than adequate to capture everything. So the building is designed that there should not be any chemical releases.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions or thoughts?
Just a question, maybe if Tim, you or Mike could zoom in on the vegetation plan. I'm having trouble finding it in my packet in terms of what landscaping is being provided as part of the site plan. I see where the parking is, where the massive buildings are, but I guess I'm not finding in my packet how the vegetation is planned.
Okay. I think this might be it. I think I've got it here. But
That's correct. That's the overall landscape plan for this. Is Tom Olenichek with Harwood Engineering, as Joe introduced. we have the civil scope, stormwater scope, and then the landscape scope as well. So what you're seeing there is the site along the driveway, adding some plantings, trees, shrubbery there in that side yard buffer yard zone, and some additional plantings adjacent to the building along that sloped area just to the east of it.
Gotcha. And then all the way to the south, is that kind of water retention, catch over, runoff over before it leaves the property? Is it kind of lower grade or lower scale vegetation?
That's correct. That's actually the stormwater feature. That's a wet basin, so it's a retention basin. Collects all the runoff from this site as well as a little bit from the adjacent site to the north, and collects it all via stormwater, routes it down to that basin. The plantings in that area are what I would call as a native or low maintenance, low mow type of growth plantings in that area. So grasses, those types of things.
Excellent. That helps me a lot.
Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners regarding the site plan?
Is that stormwater, that runoff collection point, are there any water monitorings in that done on that? Like specifically looking for free zinc or elevated pH?
We have this is Tom again. We have an outlet control structure on there that controls the flow, so the quantity aspect, as well as that restrictor on that structure allows for the water quality to happen within the pond as we're meeting Dane County ordinances. But to your specific question, there's nothing in there at this time that monitors any chemical levels or takes readings or anything like that. It's really a structure with a controlled orifice and then an overflow from there.
Okay, but you said that was all within DNR specification?
That is correct. We're going to meet, Stoughton's requirement is to meet Dane County. So we're meeting and working with Dane County stormwater engineers to meet the ordinance there. They have a requirement to improve water quality by 40%, and we are exceeding that by about 10 percentage points. And then on the peak reduction piece, we've got it, the quantity portion of it, we're exceeding that quite a bit right now as far as knocking down the peak flow coming out of the site at the moment.
All right, thanks. That's always, it's good to hear, as that's, definitely in a sensitive area for waterfowl.
Sure, agreed.
I have a real quick question, just because it's kind of my thing, but I'm noticing the bike racks, the location of the bike racks on the, what is that, the east side of the building?
That is correct.
If you go back to the other one, where they are located, if you could go back to the previous.
East side.
The previous one that you had up, Michael, had it
on the east side of the main building. Yes.
Is that adjacent to entrances, exits? I can't quite figure out where that is.
Sure. I can speak to that a little bit, and then if Scott needs to back me up, he can hop in on that. But they're the main, I think their break room and their main sort of employee entrance area is over in that general location. So I think that's where the logic was to put the bike racks, where they're going to be entering and exiting the building.
Okay. That was I just couldn't tell where it was in relation to the ingress egress structure.
Right. Without the floor plan, it's tricky to see, I suppose.
Yeah, well, this is Scott with Winter. What we did is we actually split the bike racks between the two buildings. So there are bike racks at the employee break area cafeteria, and there are also racks over at the main office.
That was the next question I was going to ask. So thanks for tackling that.
No problem. Thanks for the question.
All right, any other questions? All right, so what we're looking for is a motion to approve the site plan. Is anybody willing to make it?
I will make the motion to approve the site plan for Zinc Power. I don't have the address information or anything in front of me, so.
Michael will get that.
Okay.
And is there a second?
Second. Seltzer.
Second by Commissioner Seltzer. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Thank you. When are you guys hoping to get started?
This is Joe. We've got to go through the state construction permitting process, and that we are really hoping to break ground towards the end of July, early August, so that we can get some foundations and structure up prior to snow flying. So if anybody can tell us when the first freeze and snow is going to hit there, that would help.
August.
So in spring, we'll be breaking ground in spring.
Yeah. Last year it was October.
Yeah, we're hoping to get to about November 10th before that happens. We'll see.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. We hope you get there too. We have other projects that are in the same
Appreciate that.
position.
Right. Well, this
All right.
step certainly helps. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. Good luck. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Are there any future agenda items?
I don't know if this is probably a council policy thing, but kind of looking at since we had a few people that were not very didn't look very favorably upon the noticing process for planning or that a potential development at the on 51 there. Maybe we should look at broadening the scope of who gets noticed for developments or meetings or all that sort of thing.
Yeah, for this particular one, I think that we've gathered some email addresses along the way. So at least the people that have shown interest so far, we can notify when we get this back on the agenda. As far as in generality, I think that's going to be kind of a council thing. It's an ordinance, and really, I think the only thing that stops us is really the additional staff time and expense of doing it, which isn't probably that much, but it's probably more staff time than anything. So, that might be something you want to talk about as you're developing your council goals.
Yep.
Would this be something coming from Plan Commission, or would this involve like public safety or other potential committees maybe, or I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure either. That's something I could talk about with our leadership team and see how many other notices we give on various things. Certainly on, Planning Commission and City Council are probably the two that we hear of most, but there may be others. I'll put it on my list for our Wednesday meeting.
I'd certainly think public safety would want to have at least a voice in it.
Yeah, and I
Because a
don't
lot
know.
of it revolves around public safety. So
Yeah, I don't know what they have, as far as if they have their own guidelines or if they'd like to provide input. So we can figure out during the process which committee to send it to. We're open to whatever you want to do. This is, you never really think about it until it happens, and then it's too late. And on this particular project, obviously, there's a lot of concern, a lot of interest. So I know I would be concerned and interested too if I was, living in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to take the feedback we've gotten from the public and put it to good use.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to make good things come out of these conversations. So next time, we can do better.
Yep.
Any other future agenda items? Hearing none, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. Thank you very much. I'll see some of you tomorrow night.